mostly when you're working with these clients, so it's all about working on Power BI, or how exactly, like for example, you get a call from a client, that's a discovery call, and you connect with that client and understand his problem statement. Then what's the next step? Like, how's your approach towards
I
problem
absolutely think the knowing some management consulting frameworks, like MeetSeed frameworks, what else? Decision driver trees, those sorts of things are really, really useful. They're sort of analytical frameworks to have you think like an analyst rather than be a dashboard builder.
Hello, listeners and viewers. Welcome to the new episode of Analytics Unplugged Conversations with Experts. Today we have Mr. Jacob Hammer from GemCutter Analytics. Today we are going to discuss more about analytics, how we can move into analytics field, talking more about Power BI, Fabric, and all Microsoft products as well. So, welcome, Jacob, to the show.
All right, fantastic. Thanks very much, Anikan. Yeah, great to be here.
Amazing. So I'll just brief you about Jacob. So he started with a couple of companies before starting GemCutter Analytics. And before this, I think you have been to US as well to pursue something, right? And after that, he started his own venture. And here he's assisting various clients in various domains to make sense out of data. So it's all about raw data. Every organization has raw data, and they are not able to generate insights, right? So he's the person who comes from business point of view. He's not about like just technical, so he thinks about the problem from the business point of view and then incorporate Power BI and all other analytics tools to assist in decision making, right? So thanks a lot, Jacob, to come on the show, and I'm hopeful like everything what we are discussing, it makes sense to the viewers.
Of course.
Yeah. So let's start with your journey, like how you started with GemCutter Analytics, and before that, your personal journey in terms of profession, like how you started. I think you started as an analyst.
Right. Of course. So I started in management consulting, having done a master's in management after a few years' experience sort of in finance at Curtin. So I studied Curtin, did master management, then got into a boutique management consulting firm for a couple of years, and then sort of, I guess, all of the jobs that I've had, especially with that one, I guess starting was I just became like the spreadsheet guy or the data guy. So that starting as an associate analyst or junior analyst at a consulting firm, then turned into sort of analyst or like business analyst at sort of in industry, and then senior commercial analyst and those sorts of things. And then that, I guess it was, like I said, like in all the positions I've been in, everyone would always come to me for the Excel thing or the Power BI thing or whatever that was required. And so I sort of naturally just became the go-to guy, and my skills sort of developed from there, I guess.
That's awesome. So if you're talking about GemCutter Analytics, so what exactly the kind of projects we are working on? Like there is a like raw data that is shared by client, or the client has a specific problem statement that, hey, Jacob, this is the problem I'm facing in the organization. How can you help me with that? Like what kind of problems are we facing these days?
I mean, it's a whole array, but I guess the number one thing is clients just haven't got visibility of their information. They know they've got data in the system, whether it be financial or asset related or branch related or whatever it might be. They know they've got it in there, but they just can't get it out, or if they are getting it out, they're using manual bunky spreadsheets, and it's taking a lot of time, and which means that they want to get good visibility and then be able to make better decisions from the data that they've got. Given sort of what they're working on.
Okay, so which is the most challenging domain you must have experienced? Like we have been working with mining companies, then there are FMCG companies, various other companies. So manufacturing companies are there, because I feel in manufacturing and logistics, it's very important to understand how your components or products are moving, right? Like we are talking last mile and all those things. They want to track each and everything. So that's one kind of analytics. Then there is in mining, then we have FMCG companies and all sort of industries. So till now, like what are the challenges you have faced, or you're more into finance, like working on finance dashboards? So what are the main aspects of working on analytics right now?
Well, I guess a lot of our experience is in the financial domain, using things like working with sort of mid-sized companies that may still have zero, to get, pull their data out of zero to give them some really great dashboards and insights that they just can't get out of zero itself. And so, yeah, that's a lot of our experience. I mean, I'm not saying it's just zero, but we have a number of clients that have that as a requirement. And then beyond that, we work with a number of clients from the operational side of things. So it could be asset management, it could be like contract mining, so moving dirt around and recording sort of how efficiently they do that for various mine sites. Yeah, we have a whole number of different clients and requirements.
Amazing. So mostly when you're working with these clients, so it's all about working on Power BI, or how exactly we are using. Like for example, you get a call from a client, that's a discovery call, and you connect with that client and understand his problem statement. Then what's the next step? Like how's your approach towards problem solving? Like if I am a new, like a management trainee or a business analyst that you're hiring, how I should understand that, like the process of all information gathering or documenting things, and then understanding the problem, and then implementing that through maybe Power BI or any other tool or languages. So what is the approach overall?
Yeah, so well, generally it's just about asking lots of questions in the beginning to understand,
Yeah.
what it is that a client needs and what is it that they're after that they're not getting at the moment, and even asking, what they've tried already, or and what they'd really like to see and what's important to them. And of course, even extra points if we can explore some of their data first to see, okay, what's going on, and then we can go back to them and say, okay, this is some of the things that we've seen. Is this what you're seeing? We think this would be useful. Is that what you think would be useful? So we just have a really great discussion around what it is that they need and what they're after in terms of making better decisions around maintaining their fleet of vehicles, or being able to better understand project margins, or whatever it might be.
So do you remember any particular case study that you work around, maybe in finance or any other, where you can explain without telling the client's name or without telling the actual figures, just tell us what exactly can be the problem. For example, on the discovery call, if you can tell us what client says to you, like any particular example if
Right,
you
right.
have.
Okay. Well, they might say, okay, we really need to understand our repair and maintenance costs for our machines. We think it's in the system, everything should go against this repair and maintenance account, but we're struggling to understand exactly what it is per machine. And then we need to be able to estimate, okay, well, what's the per hour cost of running that machine, so that then we can make sure that we're we're most efficiently allocating machines to various jobs, and either getting rid of or disposing of the machines that are costing more than the benchmark, maybe reinvesting in some older machines that are a bit cheaper. Maybe we can use a bit of that excess to make them run better. It's that sort of a thing that they would come to me with.
All right. So what kind of size of the data would be? Like, is it in like millions records, or it's less than that? Like in general, like for these kind of companies?
Yeah, up to about millions. Not much more than that. Really,
So
we're dealing
maybe
with
maybe
fairly
Excel.
small data. Sorry?
Yeah. So maybe Excel is sufficient for that. Like if you have to just process less than a million records, we can work on Excel, or it's too heavy for Excel.
It is fine for Excel, but I think we use mostly Power BI because it's the interactivity and the dynamic nature of the analysis that clients want. So with the R&M example, they'd want to see how that's changing over time and be able to set something up that's going to last them for the next 3 years, to be able to keep an eye on what's their budgeted maintenance costs or repair and maintenance costs, and what their actual repair and maintenance costs are by machine, for example. You can't really do that easily in Excel unless you're constantly exporting and refreshing Excel or whatever. You can create dynamic connections, I suppose, but most clients love the Power BI dashboard sort of
Right.
concept. Yeah.
So it's more visual, and they are able to understand what exactly is happening in the business.
Yeah. It's that visual engagement, and that having something really tangible to present and work through in their
Right.
meetings, that works really well.
Right. So now that we are talking about Power BI, that you're using Power BI, so what are the couple of things that you would say are really critical for a person to know about Power BI? So if there is a newcomer who wants to move into Power BI developer, as a Power BI developer or a business analyst, and he already knows how to create dashboards. So see, basic dashboarding is totally easy. Like if someone wants to like work on Power BI, like maybe couple of days, he would be used to the visualization, like just drag and drop. That's fairly easy. But then comes complexity when we are working on data modeling, then maybe working on DAX or Power Query, and then doing all complex things. But then,
Mm-hmm.
what your opinion is more important in all those things for a budding data analyst to know about Power BI?
Now about Power BI.
Yeah.
Well, there's kind of the three things, right? There's Power Query, there's DAX, and then there's the data visualization. I think they're all just as important as each other. I think if you're overly focused on Power Query or overly focused on DAX or overly focused on visual development, you miss that sort of well-rounded, balanced understanding of how Power BI works. But before that, the number one thing is actually understanding what the client's business is and what they do. Um, because you can do visuals all day, but unless it's actually relevant and interesting and relevant to the client, it doesn't matter.
Right. I remember one of your posts from LinkedIn. It got a lot of traction that there is a dashboard with thousands of KPIs. Right now, all those KPIs are important. Maybe for the business, they are all correct. Like dashboard is absolutely correct. But overall, from the business point of view, it is absolutely useless because we are cluttering all the KPIs in one dashboard. The stakeholder is
Mm-hmm.
not able to understand what exactly he, right? So what's your opinion on this, and how we should create a dashboard? Like like what's your go-to opinion, like how many KPIs it should have, and overall layout and everything, so that stakeholder can understand what exactly is happening, and that's sufficient for the people to understand.
Right, right. Well, I mean, a dashboard should be layered in the sense that you've got your high-level numbers, and then maybe from there you can drill into something a bit more detailed, and then from there you can drill into maybe the transactions, for instance. So that's how we always try to build it. So it might be like project financials overview. So you can see all your projects and top 5, maybe bottom 10, whatever, and then that can go through to maybe a bit more detail around how the project is profitable or not, and then drill down again to then get into maybe the project transactions itself. So you can then interrogate how come that equipment hire seems to be a little bit higher than we expected, whatever it might be. I always try to keep each page with sort of no much more than about 6 or 7 visuals, maybe plus a few cards and things. As soon as you get beyond that, it can get a little bit overwhelming. But of course, it really depends on the audience too, because if you've got somebody who's in the dashboard every single day and using it, they're probably going to ask for more detail than somebody who's coming at it once a month. I guess the number one thing is being able to open it up and then immediately get what the dashboard is about and what it's trying to tell you rather than having to figure it out.
All right. So the very important point is knowing your audience, as you're saying, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
according to that,
absolutely.
change our modifications and all those things in Power BI. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so talking about data, so we are injecting that data in Power BI. So it is a raw
Yes.
data. So
Mm-hmm.
it was, again, I saw it on LinkedIn of yours. So so when you filter out particular data set, for example, there is a column by the name of state, and that is showing you Western Australia or New South Wales and all those things. And in Western Australia itself, it is shown as Western Australia, and then somewhere it is written as initials like WA. So this is all the data that is showing me. Now,
Mm-hmm.
as a analyst, what I can do is I can change all Western Australia WA to one nomenclature, maybe Western Australia, so as to do analysis. But in
Mm-hmm.
this uh, like phase, um, I'm doing all the alterations to the data, and the trust within the data is lost. So, but
Mm-hmm.
what workaround to this? Because we have to modify our data, right? So, what we can incorporate so as to have a balance.
Right. So I think, I mean, I guess for me, always if there's things like that where there's inconsistencies in the data, and yes, you could go in and you could say find and replace to fix it. Yeah, I mean, I always prefer to go to the source system and ask the client to change it there first, and then change their processes and procedures going forward, so that whenever somebody enters something in that field, it's always the same thing. But barring that, yes, I mean, you can do that transformation and data normalization in your analytics process, but just know that you're going to have to maintain it, and then somebody's going to have to spend time working in there and keeping an eye on it, so that down the track something doesn't pop up and then it gets missed because you've haven't accounted for what that ETL process may require.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we are
Mm-hmm.
talking about Power BI, so what are the complementary skills do you think with this? Like, for example, a person knows about Power BI, creating dashboards and all. So what do you think or expect from that guy? That hey, you know Power BI, that's wonderful, but you should know these two, three skill set as well. Like, is there any skill set that you think will complement with Power BI, or it is mandatory for a person to get employed?
I absolutely think the knowing some management consulting frameworks, like MECE frameworks, what else? Decision driver trees, those sorts of things are really, really useful. They're sort of analytical frameworks to have you think like an analyst rather than be a dashboard builder. Because people don't want a dashboard at the end of the day; they want the result of the dashboard. So
Exactly.
it's up to you as an analyst to figure out what is that result that's required, and how does the data that you've got have access to can create um, supports that or serves that purpose.
Right. So when you said about these analytics frameworks, so what is the best way to learn or grab these information for the people who are beginning in their career? Because they must be technically very sound. They know about Power BI, but what you told about the frameworks and all, they might be not knowing about this. So they have to Google it and all those things. So if you have any particular resource, or they just need to Google it and they can go ahead
Oh,
with
just yeah, just Google how to think like a management consultant, and there's
yeah,
a
or
heap
maybe
of
use
like
ChatGPT.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice point because we have the technical expertise now, but with people, they need to understand the domain knowledge or maybe management consultancy knowledge, like how they move ahead, so that they
Mm-hmm.
can benefit from the overall environment.
Yeah.
That's a nice point to know. So just one more thing, uh, at this point of time in your career, what do you think is one skill that you would love to learn that can help you even further? Like, you have already well established, you know what you're doing, but still you would feel that hey, I just want to learn something extra.
Yeah.
It might not be technical. So what do you think that you should learn right now?
Right now, well, I guess I mean I would love to get deeper into the kind of machine learning side of things. It's something that we haven't needed to touch on much, just because our clients aren't mature enough or ready for it yet. Um, just so that I'm kind of a little bit ahead of the curve, and so I know when that starts to wash over our industry, or not so much it is washing over our industry, but I mean in a bigger way with the sorts of clients that we're working with, just to be prepared for it. Um, Other than that, I mean, I've always loved. I mean, I've done a master's in management, but I still very much love the business strategy and so those sorts of side of things. So I'd probably just get a bit more up to speed on that again as well. So relearn some stuff, so to speak.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So
Mm-hmm.
any particular aspect or instance that you remember from management side that you would like to share? Anything related to particular concept or anything that can brighten the audience for that? I know
Sure. So one of my most favorite engagements as a management consultant was actually with a sort of very small bus manufacturing firm. So they manufactured buses for mine sites. So they're big. They're sort of essentially a bus, but on the top of a truck body. Um, anyway, when we started there, it was a complete mess. That the manufacturing floor was people moving bits and pieces all over the place. The storeroom where all the parts were kept looked like your dad's shed sort of thing. There was just stuff strewn everywhere. It was really inefficient, really messy. And so anyway, we came in and we helped them tally and what do we do? We put together a bill of materials for each of the different bus types. We defined the models. Then we put together kits which would go on a pallet, and then that pallet would get wheeled to the particular bus. That then somebody could just take the parts off and put it on the bus that they're working on. And it hugely, dramatically increased the efficiency of the whole process. It was really fun engagement, and I think we delivered something really tangible that the business still uses today. And what was, I guess, what I learned from that was the value of just getting onto the shop floor and going talking with a mechanic to say, hey, how do you do this job? Like what are you frustrated by? Like what do you think could be more efficient? Counted for a lot rather than just say talking to the owner or the general manager.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice to know and interact with all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's nice. That's wonderful. So there are a couple of things. There was
Mm-hmm.
a survey I did with the audience, and I wanted to know what are their doubts. So there are a couple of questions they wanted to ask you. So one was like they know Power BI, so they are beginner. They already understand how Power BI is used. They know how to create dashboards, and they know how to use DAX and Power Query and all those things. But they don't know any domain experience because they have zero experience. So they are just fresh out of bachelor's. So how they can improve on domain experience, because without getting a job they won't be able to get the domain experience, as we say, practical experience, right? So what's your say on it, like how they can go inside and learn about that?
Yeah, right. Interesting. So I guess pick a industry that you're interested in getting into. So maybe it might be mining, it could be engineering, it could be manufacturing. Find a few companies in Perth that maybe do that. Research, like watch YouTube videos, sort of get up to speed in kind of what they do, how it works. And then, I mean, you could even approach some of these companies for free, especially if you haven't got a job. Like, just to say to them, hey, could I explore your data or sit you down and ask you a few questions around what you do? And, maybe I could help you build a few dashboards for free, just to get that experience and have the opportunity to sit with somebody who might be in that domain. Obviously, it takes some confidence and some guts to reach out to these people. But,
Yeah,
I think you'll find that most times people are receptive, and, a no is always closer to a yes. So, it's
wonderful.
just you've just got to hustle. Like, yeah, it's
Exactly.
not going to fall in your lap.
Just approach and never back down. Just go ahead and ask everyone, and it's always about your first entry. Once you get the entry, you
Yeah,
understand what exactly is happening, and then you can change your direction if you want to. So it's all up to you then. So that's the first
exactly.
hard challenge, that going into the first leap that's there.
Yeah.
The next question is, so I think we discussed about it. So what are the complementary skills that I can learn? So someone is mentioning, like, we have SharePoint, Microsoft SharePoint document sharing thing. Then there is Fabric now in Power BI. So what are things that we should learn about it right now? Or maybe it all depends
Yeah.
on the situation. So it might be
Well, yeah,
useful,
it
it
does.
might
It
not.
does. I mean, if you've got those three things in Power BI, that's a pretty good start. I mean, yeah, you can learn
Yeah,
some SQL and make sure you're pretty good with Excel and those sorts of things. But I think I assume you're talking about people who are sort of fairly early stage in their career.
right.
Yeah, like, don't worry too much about that just yet. You've probably learned enough to get in. Just focus on getting in, and getting that
Yeah, exactly.
experience. Extra learning isn't probably like extra book learning probably isn't going to help you at this stage, unless, and this is a big but, unless you're going down the track of PhD or masters in that kind of data science field, and you're sort of hardcore mathematician, AI expert, and you're aiming for a job in a Bain or a McKinsey or a Boston Consulting Group or a NASA or whatever. Um, that's when that additional learning is really going to be useful. But for your kind of run of the mill, not run of the mill, I guess your average analyst job, I just don't think you need it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, coming back to our conversations, so just one
Mm-hmm.
question I wanted to know from you. As we talk about East Coast and West Coast, and predominantly East Coast is dominating with Sydney and Melbourne as hub. Sydney is called as financial hub, and we have all good companies over there. Major business, apart from mining, is done from there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when people come in here in Perth, how should they compare it? Because of course there is a comparison between East Coast and West Coast. Now I'm talking from analytics point of view. All the professionals who are in analytics or data science kind of fields,
Mm-hmm.
that is right. So what is your opinion, what where the Western Australian market is going in that aspect, and if we compare it with East Coast? So yeah, what's your take on it?
I mean, I don't really know for sure. I can't probably comment too much. My suspicion, and this is all it is that, I mean, Western Australia, we're dirt farmers, right? So it's not that the data that we have, use, need, require is not really ready for machine learning and AI and hardcore data science yet. I mean, there's some things like, for instance, like signals from trucks, say for mining applications where they're hauling dirt around a mine site. You've got GPS that's coming through. You've got weight that's in the back of the truck. You've got truck dimensions. You've got fuel usage. You've got all these things that, yes, could potentially go into a data science type solution. But I think for the most part, most companies in WA aren't there yet. Whereas in Sydney, probably more especially, you've got the financial side of things, and that's where the volume of data, the size of data is much bigger. So potentially data science may be more more in demand over there. But like I said, I just don't really know. That's just a guess.
All right. So just
But sorry, I guess that being said, there's still plenty of opportunity here to become an analyst in Perth. And if you can't get a job in Perth as an analyst, you're probably going to struggle in Sydney. So
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So I think you're absolutely right. Right now, the market is not that mature to have machine learning experts and all in Perth. But definitely, if you are on that track, maybe after a couple of years, when we feel it is matured and companies will come for more profiles in machine learning expert, AI, and all those kind of profiles. Apart from Power BI developers, because I can see the market really good for Power BI specialists, people
Mm-hmm.
who have a good skill set in Power BI with complementary skill of, let's say, SQL, and then we have DevOps or Fabric overall. So that's a great complementary skills apart from Power BI. So coming
Mm-hmm.
to the last section of this show, I just want to know a couple of things related to one more thing that
Sure.
the audience was saying. This was related to working on Power BI, Tableau, and Qliksense. So
Mm-hmm.
three BI tools. So so what we have seen is like I have already worked on Power BI. I have explained this to the audience. Like Power BI is comparatively easier and more useful in uh, the industry. But what's your take? What you think will be more useful? Uh, Not just in Perth,
Mm-hmm.
but in overall, like all across the globe. Like what is more predominant? You have seen the US market. You have seen Australia. So what do you think should be a go-to tool? Of course, no biasing. Like you work on Power BI, but
Yeah,
what?
yeah. Well, I probably am a bit biased then, but I mean, we exclusively work with Power BI. I think Microsoft is omnipresent in just about every industry, so it does make a lot of sense. Um, and we've actually worked with a number of clients to kind of do transitions from ClickView or Qliksense or Tableau to Power BI. So I think a lot of companies are going that direction as it is, and so that's where I guess we've hitched our cart to.
All right. So finally, Power BI would be the clear winner. So if someone wants to learn it, of course, there is no commission that we are getting from Microsoft. That's something which we are saying from the experience. So if you are moving in and if you would love to learn something, I think it's Power BI, as Jacob is also saying, because that is really evolving right now. It is comparatively
Mm-hmm.
fairly easier learning curve because you can start with the dashboarding and then start with learning DAX, Power Query, and then more about MQuery stuff. So it and
Mm-hmm.
everyone is Excel user, right? So it complements with Excel. So it is
Yeah.
fairly smooth curve for learning. Amazing. So, Jacob, I think these were the questions. So, I think you have touched upon all those things. Thanks a lot for
Mm-hmm.
answering all these questions, and it was so
Yeah.
amazing. Any particular thing you would like to mention apart from this? Everything is covered, but anything you would love to mention related to analytics field, to the beginners or the professionals who are in their mid career, or maybe someone who is transitioning towards a data science field or data analytics field?
No, I don't think so. I think, yeah, I mean, my only advice is just get the experience as fast as you can in industry, doing whatever you need to do to get it. You know, if it means you need to contact 300 people, then do it. I guess to get my first job in trading, which is a long time ago, and that's another story. But yeah, I flew to Chicago and I had my resume and I printed it out and I walked the streets and handed out, resume after resume to, 100 plus firms until I got a job. So, I know it's hard work and it feels like a slog, and it's it can feel probably quite daunting if you're on trying to get in and not sure what to do. But unfortunately, that's just the how it works. I think at the beginning, but then once you're in, you're in, and then the world's your oyster.
Amazing. Yeah. So, all right, that's it. Thank you so much, Jacob, for coming on the show. And
No
it has been
worries.
lovely talking to you.